Hey, welcome aboard. Special time for the A game today here on a Monday. I'm Rob Acampora from the Shared Universe Studios here in Red Bank. Now, I've done some podcasts before where I've had more than one person, but I don't think I've actually done one where there's like 5 or 6 people. But because of the fact that one of the guys who I've known for a little over 30 years wound up on Bravo's Love Hotel, which is about to have a season finale this Sunday night. Gerry Matthews and the crew, if we can bring them all up. Thank you all for being here. These are the bachelors who decided to put themselves on national television and do their thing on Bravo. And by the way, I've been seeing the ratings have actually continued to go up with each episode. That's something you got to feel good about. It found more of an audience as you went along. So congratulations on that. And the guy down there, if I can get Gerry up here, because Gerry Matthews and I go back about 30 years, to say the least. And when I contacted Gerry and said, you want to come on my podcast? He's like, I'll do one better. I'll bring most of the guys with me. I went, yeah. I mean, I don't know about controlled chaos, but we're going to try to do that. But Gerry, as somebody who's known you for 30 years, as somebody who's known you from being in Asbury Park, you are the surfer guy. You always have been. So that's nothing surprising. We hung out at a lot of places like the Stone Pony and the Fast Lane in Asbury Park, attended a lot of shows together. And then you're somebody who, has had a good life. And then I was happy for you that I found out, okay, he's left Jersey. He's doing his thing. Fantastic. But it leaves one question. How many of your friends were about as shocked as I was? I'm like, you're on what? You're doing what?
I got a lot of texts and phone calls. Some people I haven't heard from in a long time said, oh my God, So it was fun. I bet I got in contact with a lot of people I haven't spoke to in a while. They got in touch with me, and it was good talking to them. They were happy for me. They loved the crew. You know what I mean? Everybody loves Ralph and Nick and James and JB, man.
It is one of those things where, as I was first watching it, obviously I was watching it because I'm like, oh, Gerry's on there. So I'm getting into it. I watched the first 2 episodes, and then I find myself just kind of going, I got to watch number 3. And then it became, oh, now I'm going to have them all on here. I rewatched the first 3 episodes, then binge watched up until where we are now, which we're approaching on the finale. But it's interesting. Gerry, I mean, even though you only had 2 episodes on this, I mean, when you look back on the experience, it was not exactly something you would have planned on, that you would become friends with these guys and bond with everybody. But also, you actually benefited from being on this show, because now suddenly your life's taking a different turn in a different direction, is it not?
It is. I'll tell you a quick story. I went to do audition for a commercial, and the first thing they asked was, how was Luann? You know what I mean? Because they watched the show, and that's too bad you got voted off. You seem like a nice guy, but we want you to do this commercial.
Right.
So, that was good. And then I got hired for another little film. It was a vertical platform. I just did 5 days of filming in Long Island and some New York City. And it was a lot of fun, and they were like, oh, that's the guy from Love Hotel, So it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. I've known you for so long. I was like, oh, wait a minute. He's never really gone into this world. So in a sense, a door accidentally opens and you're just kind of going, okay, I'll go there. What the hell?
Yeah. Well, I actually was doing some acting before, about 6 years ago, and just started to do it into my retirement, like before I retired, and just kept going. And, but I met these guys on this show, and there's a tight bond here. It wasn't like a normal Bachelor show where everybody's kind of fighting. Sure, I fight with Mark, and but overall he's a good guy, And all these guys on here, we do have a tight bond, and that's something I want to emphasize: is we all keep in touch with each other. There's a group text between us. We're laughing at each other. We're joking about the show, and it's good. I made a lifelong friendship with these guys here.
Obviously, because you're bringing them into something where it's like, oh, who's this jabroni? What is he doing? And why would you all come on? So obviously, the friendship is definitely there, because obviously you wouldn't be doing it. And James is back. Don't worry, you haven't missed anything yet, James. But if I can go around, I'm going to introduce everybody one by one. I want to start with Nick up in in this case, the top row center square.
Oh, gee. Yeah, right above Gerry. What's up?
Yeah, no. Well, hold on. I'm going to start with this. How many people now call you the Funkle? since you used the term.
Yeah. That was. I mean, that's a known thing. I'm a fun Uncle Nick, you know.
Yeah.
So it's. I love those kids, man.
Okay, so it was something that was like, okay, I'm not putting any facades on. This is actually what everybody calls me. So I figured I'll share that on national television.
Here's one story. For my 40th birthday, I took one of my nephews and my brother, and we partied in Ibiza for my 40th. So nice. There you go.
Yeah, that would make you the fun uncle. Without exactly. I mean, when you look back on your experience, which was quick, but at the same token, I got the feeling it's like, okay, you were trying to gain momentum in this whole thing. And I guess that also raises a question for a couple of the other guys here. Jay, obviously. I don't mean that in a bad way. The hardest thing when you're dealing with trying to date for women on a celebrity show like this is trying to find time and gain momentum. And Nick, you had the worst luck of like going, okay, I'm finally starting to jive. I'm finally jiving with Ashley. And then simply put, you said it best. You got cock blocked, man. You got severely.
Dude, man, you know. Oh yeah. It was, again, like Gerry said, it was such a fun experience. For me personally, I had one option out of the four ladies. I think, right. Most of us kind of did, with some exceptions. But everybody was wonderful. Everybody, like Gerry said, still stays in touch. Yeah, we all had a great time. I'm happy with what they've shown of me and my personality.
That's a very interesting point you're bringing up.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people sometimes, when you look back on the experience and then you're watching it on television, you sit there and go, okay, then I don't feel like I'm being portrayed in a bad light. I'm not being edited into something that was okay. You feel comfortable. Is the best way of putting it. When you look at it,
I mean, I look back. I was just trying to be my genuine self. I'm pretty funny. I thought I looked kind of cute, so that helped. What's great is I think the guys are starting to get my personality more now in these group texts because I'm just kind of goofy. I laugh at myself first. You know what I'm saying? And I always want everybody to have a good time and have fun.
Look, if you have the balls to go out there and say, I'm looking for a woman with a beautiful smile and a fat ass, you obviously have no fear, my friend.
Hey, man, I'm putting it out into the universe. You know what I'm saying?
That lends itself to, and you all can chime in on this, as far as being genuine, because you've seen enough of these shows, I'm sure, and sometimes it doesn't come across as genuine. And that was kind of, Gerry, and I'm going to be honest with you, I was a little leery as I'm watching this. I'm like, oh, is everybody going to come across as sort of I never felt like, maybe James laid it on a little thick, and I'll get to him on that when we get him back in here. But everybody just seemed to be like, Ralph, especially you. I mean, coolest guy in the room most of the time, without a doubt, and considering, but we'll get to you in a second.
No, please.
But you all felt like, I don't have to put any facades on here. I know I'm on a show. I know there's cameras around me at all times. I know there's going to be, people are going to look and kind of have their own opinions, but at least you all can look back and go, I feel like I was myself. I'm okay with it. And like you're all saying, you're really happy with the experience so far.
Yeah. I think there's a few reasons for that. I think, I think the fact that none of us really watch reality TV or know anything about reality TV. So we came in with no expectations, no ulterior motives. We were really coming in just to see what this is all about.
Right.
I think also too, the production crew made it really easy for us to just kind of be at ease and be ourselves. We're all at a certain age where we're not trying to, I think for the most of us, we're not trying to become TV stars. We're already established. We're already, we got.
Yes, that's true.
So we're coming in just like, hey, this is an experience, and let's make the most out of it.
Mm-hmm. And Jay, I'm looking at your experience. I mean, at least you got one experience. And if I can look at the photo, I think that would be photo number right over there. That's it. How did you know I was going to go there? Hit it. Because I'm that dope. You're that dope. I'm like going.
Oh, the taco.
Oh, the taco.
Yeah, the $25,000 taco. I'm like, no, I'm the first to say I got some great taco places by me, but I'm not paying $25,000 for no. Not that you did, but I'm like going, was it all that?
Listen, I could have saved Bravo $24,995 to Taco Loco up the street and got the same experience. But that is one cool. That's a fun fact I'll always have. I'm like, hey, I can go into any party and be like, hey, Have you ever had a 25,000 taco?
Hey,
It becomes a talking point. No matter
No
how you slice
comment.
it, it's a talking point at that point.
with Giselle, you know,
With
what I'm saying?
Giselle, no less.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Giselle from
Yeah.
the Real Housewives of the Potomac. I mean, Jay, you're an interesting case because it always felt like as I'm watching the episodes, like you're there, they know you're there, but somehow you get lost in the shuffle. And it goes back to what I said. It's hard to kind of establish a rhythm when there's so many moving parts and other people there. And is that, do you like, you enjoyed the experience, but do you feel bad? It was like going, well, I kind of was trying to work myself in there, just couldn't do it, or,
Yeah, you know what? Like, I enjoyed the experience. I actually enjoy it much more now watching these guys when I'm not on it. But no, you know what it is? It's like I went into it again trying to build a connection with someone, and I wasn't forcing anything. And I know it's a show,
right?
And it's supposed to be somewhat of a competition. I didn't look at it that way, right?
Right.
I'm not chasing people. Like, if there's a connection, we're good. If there isn't,
Right.
cool. And Giselle was the only one I really felt any connection to. And it's funny, like off camera, we had some amazing conversations. We had some, really connected. But the on-time screen, as you can see, Giselle's really tough to crack, right?
Yeah, right away. It's almost like I'm here, but I'm not. I get the feeling with Giselle is more like I'm here, but almost questioning why am I here? That's the vibe I get. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm like, look, if she's gonna open herself up to me, I'll return the same. We can open ourselves up to each other. But I just wasn't getting that vibe. I was getting more friendship vibe, and that's why I was like, all right, there's nothing else for me to do here, so it's time to go.
No, you graciously bowed out. I mean, you just kind of said, look, there's no reason for me to be here anymore, and that was a class move.
Classy.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. These are the men of the Love Hotel on Bravo. The series finale is coming up on Sunday night. They're here as part of the A game. I'm sure there'll be a reunion show afterwards, so there's only so much I'm going to get into here. But now I go down to Ralph, you're going last. Sorry. James, step on up. So you come in the middle. You suddenly decide, okay, you and Luann, there's like instantaneous chemistry. Were you shocked by that? Because you come across as like, okay, here is a man who's just brimming with, I'm comfortable. I love my life, which you've said.
Multiple times, he said.
Multiple
that.
times.
Even before
Yeah,
the show.
I do love my life. I mean, I yell it all the time. I love my life. I mean, the reality is that, I haven't always loved my life, right? We've gone through stuff. By the time you get to 63 years old, you've gone through some stuff in life, and
Right.
you've had some difficulties. I personally had an inoperable brain tumor when I was in my early 30s, and they gave me a few weeks to live. So when you go through that experience and you survive something like that, your definite life becomes a lot more precious in that moment. And so you start appreciating every day that you are alive. So, a lot of my I love my life stuff comes from that experience, but I truly have been blessed beyond belief. 4 beautiful kids, 2 amazing grandkids, living in Maui, Hawaii, and Santa Monica. And this opportunity to come to the show was just like icing on the cake. Like, get to go down and have this amazing experience, meet a bunch of new people, have fun. And I did connect with Luann initially as a friend. We just started laughing and having a great time. And then that connection very, very quickly evolved to like flirting and, something else.
I think it's interesting you bring up the brain tumor because I think it sheds a lot of light for me as somebody who's watching, because at times I'm thinking, oh, is James just being over the top, or the camera's kind of affecting him? But knowing that you survived this experience, that sheds a lot of light on who you are and why you have the mindset that you have and why you are as just, I do love life. That's not an act. And I think that's an important point to shed here, because if people have watched this, there's always going to be the skeptic. And I admit, I was a little like, is he just turning this up a notch for the cameras? But obviously, now that you say that, it's obviously not even close.
No. And the reality is, with loving life, I begin to love everything, like every moment, every cloud, every flower I see, every person I come in contact with. I'm the guy that always talks to everybody on the elevator and says, how y'all doing today? And when I came to the Love Hotel, my intention was to be as loving and experience as much of that energy and share that with everybody. And all the guys in this room, I love these guys, and I would do anything for any of these guys. any of the people at the hotel, like if they called me up, they said I'm in trouble, I would be there right away. So, you know, that feeling of just trying to connect with other human beings and love everyone and love my life and the world around me is a big part of who I am.
Right. It makes a lot of sense. And it also explains, you know, you're not afraid to say love the way you did, you know, because I think there were times where even I'm watching, I'm like, oh, can he be falling that quickly? Or is it just, no, you're explaining yourself so well to say, hey, look, this is who I am. And I'm a very loving person. So I'm not afraid to just pour it out there, for lack of a better term, because you do pour it out there without a doubt.
Exactly. Come on, dude. And, you know, you have to admit, there's something very sexy about Luann. You know, there's something very sexy and cute and wonderful. And, you know, it's easy when somebody like that starts being affectionate with you to start falling for them pretty quickly, because you're getting all this affection, you're getting all this attention, and, you know, you're falling in love with this person legitimately, you know, even quickly in a few days or a few weeks, you know? Well,
I know somebody who's gotten a lot of affection and attention down in the lower right corner, lowering his head. Ralph, you are definitely somebody I need to hang out with at some point. Between your music experience and you were like just too cool, beyond cool. I mean, obviously the cool Mac Daddy that you are in this show. Did you ever in your wildest dreams sit there and go, I'm going to be one of the focal points of this show?
Not remotely. No, not at all. It's been very humbling. You know, I'm a behind the scenes guy. You know, yeah. I got into the music business. I started in a band when I was a kid, and I used to get awful stage fright. And I don't get into the whole story, but I found a place behind the scenes, you know, and right. That's where I'm comfortable. And the reason I did this was because it was outside my comfort zone, and I had zero expectations. And absolutely had no idea that I was going to become whatever I'm being deemed as at this point, which is, you know, it's interesting. You know, it's I never expected it to be, you know, to get famous or any of that, but, you know, I've gotten recognized, I guess, 7 or 8 times now out in the wild. Right. And it's right. It's sweet, right? Everybody's really, really kind, and, you know, and I blush, and it's uncomfortable, but it's still really touching, you know?
Yeah. It's funny you're saying that, because I almost felt like you were blushing and feeling uncomfortable when all of a sudden it's like, Ashley, you what? You were going to be, I'm one of your choices? Huh? Where did that come from? Excuse me?
Every one of them.
Yeah.
You know, it was, yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I'm left all speechless. But again, now this is why I'm glad to have a setting like this to get to know you guys even a little bit more, because then it's like it connects some of the dots as far as the personalities on the show go, where it's like going, and again, I want to emphasize, it's like there are no facades. I had the advantage of knowing Gerry. Now just kind of seeing everybody even a little bit, I'm like, now it all starts to make sense. And obviously, 2 of the guys here are going to be very interesting in the finale for sure, which we cannot talk about. We're just going to encourage you to watch Sunday night on Bravo, or record it on DVD or DVR, or video on demand. You may have that on your cable system. That's where you can actually binge all the episodes. If you haven't watched them yet, go binge them while you can. These are the men of the Love Hotel on Bravo. They're here on the A Game. Ralph, I'm going to pull out one thing, because there was one photo, and again, when you think about memories of the show, I'm like, the last photo, Christian, on the bottom, that's it.
Yeah.
Guapo the Love Chameleon.
Hey, guapo.
I'm sitting here just laughing my ass off. By the way, there's a segment they're doing art, and they're creating things. And if I remember correctly from watching the episodes, you make your own candles, so this is not really that far much of a... There's Guapo! There you go!
Well, you know, you're supposed to do these, you know, confessionals, and after a while, it just gets like, I'm tired of talking about myself, so I kind of said, fuck it, and...
Is that the hardest thing after a while, where it's like, if you're not let's put it this way, for all of you, if you're not comfortable just talking about yourself to that much of a degree, I mean, obviously, Robin gets a little uncomfortable for you. Like you said, you're more of a behind the scenes guy. For the rest of you, did it ever feel uncomfortable, where it's like going, Okay, I'm not sure if I should keep talking or should I shut up or what am I doing, so to speak.
I don't know about you guys. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was exhausting because we were
It was
doing
exhausting.
so much.
I think that's absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah, like,
It's not reality television, right? There's no sense of reality in the environment that we were in.
That's a good point.
It's authenticity, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. They did a really good job of casting very high EQ guys, right? Everybody was emotionally evolved, and it was that experience of being sequestered with a group of, you'd think you'd get a bunch of A types together and
Right.
it's just going to be like a gladiator fight. It wasn't, man. We talked about emotion. I got goosebumps, swear to God, about emotions and just like stuff that guys don't talk about, right? And it was really special in that regard. And then you get thrust into these situations that you have no idea what's coming. And again, there's no reality to it at all. It's just you have to be you, or you either look like a fool or you just shut up, right? But I think everybody did a great job of just being themselves.
And throw one more thing into the equation when you talk about reality. I mean, I know they were talking about the hurricane, but Jerry, you were saying to me privately, it's like the storm hits there at one point. So now this delays the whole process. So suddenly now there's extra time and you guys have to spend extra time together. That could have created friction. Say it brought you closer together because you really got to know each other probably a little bit more than most people would have been in this situation.
Well, if I may comment, before the hurricane, we had roughly 4 days. I'm going to say 4 days just because I don't remember how many days, but
Right.
we weren't supposed to connect with each other, but we would have meetings. I remember the first time coming in, and Ralph was the first guy I met. And Ralph to me was like super calm, cool, collective, just barely looked at me, gave me a quick hello. And I was like, you thought that this was going to be a bachelor show where everybody was at each other's throat. But, I got to know Ralph after a while. What a good guy, and then, we bonded. We became good friends. James was down the hall from me before we even started. And he brought his guitar. And we were talking about guitar. He surfs.
I mean,
we
you two are
bonded.
piece of pod without a doubt.
Yeah. And then, everyone else. I mean, Nick and I were there till a couple days after we were voted off, and we bonded. We had breakfast. There was one point people were asking us, did we just get married? Because we couldn't talk to anybody. We only talked to each other, right, Nick? Remember, that was funny.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, did you two just get married? I'm like, whoa.
It was a weird thing. Turning down girls, be like, hey, we can't talk
Right.
now, man.
Right.
We just can't talk, right?
Then the hurricane. We had a hurricane. We had an earthquake. We had, there was some delays. They had to break down the cameras, put them back up again. And there was times we run into each other, and I have to emphasize how much of a bond, great bond. That's not good. Great bond that we all have together. We still speak. JB Love. He's coming up to New York, and he wants to come to Puerto Rico. All these guys are invited, and we all try to hook up. Earl the Pearl. We talk and. We had our premiere. We had a great time,
Yeah.
I think I've seen everyone from the show at least once since we filmed. I've hung out
all A1.
Everyone.
And I got to say this. So the hurricane hits, and
Right.
they shut production down for almost 3 days. And it happens to turn, it was actually my birthday. And this was really cool. Like, one of the production guys, we call him Murph, he set up like almost like a surprise birthday thing for me with crew, the guys. And we just had it was the first time after filming for those 4 or 5 days that there was no cameras. And everybody was just like, we were dancing, we were singing, we were laughing. But I don't know if everybody knows this too. When that hurricane hit, there was a flood and water just bursted through my room. So, so I actually had to move rooms, and I was like, man, is this a sign? Like my baby girl ain't here. Do you know what I'm saying? So that was just right after, and that was a great moment. I appreciate everybody for that. That's something I'll never forget, especially that dance line,
We had some time, like holding rooms. We one time had to sit in the gym before we were ready to, and we would all bond and joke. we didn't break into it. They had us in the tequila bar, and we happened to find a bottle of tequila. And boy, did we have,
Casa Azul.
it was $4,000 bottle of tequila, but it was a lot of fun. You know, we
sure,
really
you
did.
bring it over to 4,000. That happens every day. Yeah, here's a $4,000 bottle of tequila, boys. Let's go.
I'm inflating it, but it was expensive. But it was expensive. And then we'd come down in different clothing, and we'd either joke or laugh and say it was great, or everybody bonded in a good way. That's my emphasis on this whole show. Even with the ladies, we it was a really good time. I have no regrets, none whatsoever.
Let me emphasize something here.
Go ahead, interrupt. That's a great point with the ladies, because yes, they're reality show stars, but not dating reality show stars. So they were going through this experience just like us. So that's why we all had a shared experience, and we bonded that way.
Right. And I'll expand upon that point, Jay, because I was about to say, I want to emphasize the point of you guys really did have no idea that what you had signed up for a show. You're saying you're doing the whole thing. And then all of a sudden you look and you're going, okay. And maybe a couple of you figured it out. Not everybody figured it out until all of a sudden they're telling you, and you're like, what have we walked into? But yet, Jay, you bring out a great point where it's like going, what have they walked into? Because they're the ones that signed on and knew ahead of time what they were walking into. It's sort of like, okay, nobody has a real advantage here. Not that anybody's trying to get an advantage, but you're also trying to make the most of the experience and trying to see, okay, how is this all going to work? And then for you guys, I think it's probably a little more difficult, because it's that feeling of, these are television stars to a degree. Oh my God, what have we walked into? Hello.
Yeah, and the reality is that the other guys on this, on these Hollywood Squares, they came in the beginning, and they got to spend a week with the women.
Right, you came in on episode 3, if I remember correctly. So
I came in the second week. So when I came in, you had 1 hour to meet the women, and then they would decide if they were going to let you in the hotel. That was it. So a lot of those guys that came in with me, they pretty much got like 2 seconds of airtime, and they were gone. They were kicked out, and that was it.
Rough, man.
Which was rugged. Brutal. And I pretty much, when I heard about this, because I didn't know about it until we walked over, and they said, here's the deal. You have an hour, and then you're out of here if they don't like you. It was like, and I figured, okay, well, I'll be out of here in a minute. And I had no idea. And it just turned out that, somebody decided to give me a key, and then it worked out. But the other guys, I felt really bad for, honestly.
Right. Well, Nick, you would reference something earlier in the conversation, almost like you couldn't talk about what was going on, even though you were now off. So you're still there, and it's kind of that you're trying to enjoy the hotel and all the experience, but it's not like you can go socialize and say, oh, I'm here for this. You literally knew. It's like, I can't say shit.
Exactly. So when me and Gerry, we have our little routine. We go to the pool, and we just said, we're here on kind of business. That's what because everybody asks you in the pool, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? This and this. And we just say we're here for business.
Right.
Is that for Nick and Gerry? Was that awkward at that point, or you just kind of got?
Oh my God! Well, that's why basically they thought Nick and I were a couple, because we had to stay away from everyone.
Right.
So we were just talking to each other, and there was actually people. We're in the pool. Somebody come, hey, what are you doing here? Hey, what are you doing here? And it was like, well, we're on a business trip. You know what I mean? And we really had to be quiet because there was executives of NBC in that pool.
Right.
We were like, we felt like we were like there was moles around the pool, and trying to see if we were going to let the secret out, and we held our ground, and we kept quiet.
Yeah, bravo for that. No pun intended, actually.
Yeah.
Just told myself what I said. But I guess for me, I would sit there and say, I want to enjoy the fact, even though I'm off the show, I want to enjoy the experience. And it's like, that's kind of hard in a sense, because, here's two eligible.
Wait. We were enjoying that experience, eating tuna for breakfast, and salmon, and steak.
Otherwise, you were enjoying it. I was going to go in a different direction. Was if all of a sudden you're being hit on by a lovely woman, it's sort of like, I don't think I can go here in the terms of the agreement.
I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna say this too, but I'll be honest. After you're on a show with this much prestige and this kind of stuff, you also want to kind of. It was a beautiful thing for me personally to like decompress after being on for like 7 to 10 days.
Right.
So those like 3 or 4 days was needed just to like release and
to just figure out what just happened. Hey, what just happened?
Yeah,
we were
exactly.
I'm
Jay,
still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, Jay, when you walked away, was that the same thing where it's like going, okay, I need to decompress and really just soak this in and just kind of go, breathe.
Yeah, it was so funny. So I didn't have to stay because I left, so I didn't have to stay. And I remember when I was waiting for my shuttle to take me to the airport, I opened the door, and the first person I see was Nick. Like, hey,
yo, let's go, JB Love, baby.
So Nick and I went. We rode to the airport together, had drinks at the airport, and it was great to just decompress and talk about what just happened.
Right.
So that was really cool. That was a cool memory.
Nick sends me a picture of the two of them together. Look what I just found, and I'm waiting at the airport for my plane, and I was like, oh man. But
I love the stories. This is great.
Hey, I do want to comment that a couple times, there being in Cabo San Lucas and me being a surfer, you see waves down at the end, about 1.5 miles, 2 miles away. And I'm like looking, zooming in on my phone. And I'm like, I'm going to get a surfboard. So I say to production, I say to my producer, I said, can I go? No, you can't go surfing. What if you get hurt?
I was about to say that due to the legalities, I would have thought, okay, Jerry's not going to be able to surf. You're asking a guy who basically surfs every day of his life for how many decades not to surf? Seriously?
Since 8 years old, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, what am I going to do? So I called the surf shop. I said, can you meet me up the street with the surfboard? I put the surfboard in the bellhop in their room. And I said to Nick, I'm going to go surfing early in the morning. If I don't come back, you know where I am. I'm down here, I had Nick help me keep, make sure I was okay. So I walked 1.5 miles watching road runners and lizards and stuff run across the path and got some good surf. And I come back bright red and brown. They're like, are you laying out by the pool? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, A-Team, my guy. When you say Jerry's a surfer to the T, he is. He was traversing rocks with a surfboard to go find these waves.
Climbing down the cliff. Yeah.
Nick, you have to understand.
Don't tell NBC.
No, don't tell NBC. Yeah, they're going to know now, but it's too late. But Nick, I can tell you from knowing him during the 90s when we first met, and we met at a lot of different concerts. I mean, when it came to the Asbury Park surfing agenda or route or scene, I'll even say it that way, even though the waves not always were great, Jerry would always know, was like going, okay, there's a 3 to 5 that's actually coming, and he's on it. Wow. He was definitely to the point where even within the last few years, he had called me up and said, hey, listen, there's going to be a surfing contest. Would you like to come and MC? It never panned out, but he always had me in the back of his head kind of going, and Jerry, I really do appreciate that because I was in between jobs at that point. So just even you thinking of me, it was like, oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
The Belmar Pro, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you thought of me during that. And I'm sitting there even telling him, like, going, wait a minute, I've never, it's like, Rob, you're a natural at this. You can handle it. You'll do your homework and you'll be fine. And I was like, I was on board. It just didn't pan out, but it was like, the fact that he thought of me to actually do it, it was like, oh, bravo. But when it comes to surfing on the Jersey Shore, Jerry was the guy, without a doubt. So what you got was, I can tell you, genuine article, without a doubt.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
But is he a good surfer is what we want to know.
I don't know. You guys gotta show up to Puerto Rico and test me out. So.
I can only judge him on Jersey surfing. There's a lot different between Jersey surf and Puerto Rico surf. So I mean, understand something. You're really hunting. Jerry, you know better than anybody. I mean, there's like a few weeks where the surf is really prime in Jersey, and it's nothing against Jersey. It's just a location more than anything else.
August, September, October. Then you travel. Then you go to Hawaii. You go visit James over there in Maui in Honolulu. Or I spent some time in the North Shore of Oahu, and now I'm down here in Puerto Rico. I used to come here every year, and that's the East Coast Hawaii. It's beautiful here,
Beautiful day.
Living a dream, Jerry.
Living
the dream.
It's funny. Like I said, I can bond with Jerry just because of relationships, but I can bond with Ralph in a different way because I've been in the radio industry on and off for 30 years. And like him, I've got gold and platinum records from artists, which I think is always one of the nicest things to have, whether you're in front of the scenes or behind the scenes. And you, Ralph, as somebody behind the scenes doing the work that you do and looking at some of the gold and platinum you got behind there, I know you got to take a personal feeling of like going, you know what, as somebody who's been involved in the music scene and doing the work that you do, just to get recognized just by the label or the band has to feel good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, most of the stuff on my wall, and I've got a bunch of others. There's a long history of relationships that go along with that, and when you get and that doesn't happen anymore, right? So nobody's selling records, so there's other kind of
Right.
plaques that you can get presented nowadays, a streaming thing.
That's true.
It's humbling. It's very satisfying because most people don't know what it takes to put on a show or anything that's entertainment based, right?
I can tell you the first time I happened to organize a radio concert, and this is like in the 90s, and we did it on a beach, and we were kind of like thrown to it, like we're required because we got to buy from a major company. So suddenly here we are, these dim-witted DJs trying to put together a concert, getting help from a great concert promoter, but the work, I can tell you, trying to throw 2 months work that should have been about 6 months worth of work was impossible. We pulled it off, but it's like you learn how elaborate just putting concert together is, or putting a record together is, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. Was that Ortley Beach?
Yes, it was. Surf Stock. Yeah,
that was a good one.
That was. It was one of those.
A couple of them.
Yeah, I know you. You were having as much fun as I was at those shows, my friend. But putting that together, and just to defend Ralph being behind the scenes, when you do something like that, it is not only incredibly satisfying. You're not, like you said, you're not looking for accolades, but when you get them, it's sort of that. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciated my work.
Yeah, most of the time, there's some things I've done. We did this. There was this big SARS scare in Canada a bunch of years ago, and the Canadian government and some other big organizations said, "Hey, we need to do something about this," and they did this. That was SARS concert, whatever, and it was the Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Rush. It was massive, like 600, 700,000 people showed up, and we had 2 weeks to put it together. And it was one of the biggest shows, honestly, I've ever been involved in, period. Yeah. And, we did it, right? And that alone is satisfying.
Yeah, it definitely is. Especially when you're dealing with that many humans, it's mind-boggling to even think about. It's cool that I can shed a little light on everybody's personalities too, because and that's another hard thing. When you're watching back on the Love Hotel now, it's like you're only getting a glimpse of who you really are. So, I mean, everybody seems happy with it, but it's like, and I'll post this to everybody. Nick, I'll start with you. We'll go around the room. If there was one thing you could have had brought out in the show about yourself that wasn't brought out, what would you have wanted?
Them to show me with my shirt off, man. By the pool. Like, come on. I'm a sexy mofo, man. Show me by the pool my shirt off one time, Bravo. Come on, man. Let's go, baby.
Why am I not shocked by that answer?
No. You know what? Like, it was funny as though I'm looking at all the guys, and I'm just smiling in my head, because it brings up so many memories when I see them, and we talk on our group text, but it's just great to see everybody. I'm just smiling, like thinking about these funny memories,
Jay, same question. What would you have liked to have brought out?
Yeah, I think there's two things. I think first, I got to rebound from that boring comment by Giselle. It's like,
yeah, I mean, come on, really
dirty on that one. So I wish they could have saw my personality, especially with her more, because we had some really off camera, more just fun interaction.
Right.
So I wish that was brought out a little bit more. And I also was hoping that they would see a little bit more of our dynamic. Like, I think we had so many great conversations, and like, just, obviously the show is about the women, but it's also part of our journey as well.
Yes.
We got to see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I think after the first date, there was a little less. I mean, toward the end, I was like, oh, he's got a nice back. You're just noticing this now?
Yeah, by then, I was like, I'm out here.
Yeah, you mentally checked out. James, same question.
I was really happy with the way I was portrayed, in the sense that it's actually authentically me. I mean, I have nothing really to add that they didn't. The reality is, some of my friends would call me and say, I don't like how they're portraying you. I don't think that it's very nice. And I don't, this is just who I am. I'm okay. All parts of me, if you want to pick, me, having a high squeaky voice, or saying, I love you too quickly, or pretending, you think that I'm pretending to, be somebody I'm not. That's okay. I mean, in reality, that's maybe how people see me. But I thought, for me, the producers, at least from my perspective, gave me a fair shake in terms of who I am. I didn't feel necessarily they did that to everybody else. I felt like some of the guys got robbed from some really important moments and some screen time, and they were portrayed a little bit differently than I see them, because I see all the guys as really great guys, wonderful people.
Agreed.
And I think that they sort of villainized some of the guys a little bit more than they should have, or like Jay said, they portrayed him as boring, which I found none of the guys boring at all. So, yeah.
Everybody brought their own personalities to the match, without a doubt. Gerry, I'll go to you on this one.
I'm going to stay on the positive on this. I have no regrets. You know what I mean? I made some wonderful friends. We called ourselves the Elite Eight, the original 8 in the beginning.
Right.
Maybe one I didn't get along with, but he's a good guy. The fact that Luann and I are friends, a holiday I'll reach out or whatever, and whoever she ends up with, I wish them the best of luck. We're still friends, One thing that I would like to have seen is maybe some surfing lessons with everybody. I think that would have made a great show. And I'm ready for the next one for that. So
that would have been cool.
Then you would see me surf, Nick.
Yeah,
that would be awesome, man. I can't wait, Gerry.
Ralph, the last word on this part.
I've actually got 3 things to say on that. Is I know all these guys, and I didn't, and it takes a minute when you get there to come out of your shell and get to know somebody, and
right.
Most of the guys, I was really, so far, I've been really lucky. I've been portrayed well. There's a couple of things I wish I wouldn't have said, but I've got some screen time. I think a couple of guys, Jason, like he's an incredible guy, huge personality. Barely got any airtime, and that to me is sad. And most of the guys that just didn't get enough airtime, it's hard to get to know them, from the camera point of view.
Right.
But I think it was a really, I think accurate portrayal because everybody was super authentic.
Right.
And I guess that's it.
Yeah. Hey, Christian, scroll down. I think 2 more. Did 2 other guys chime in here? No, over underneath everybody. Hello, bring them in. Why don't you?
There he is.
Hello there.
Oh my
How
God!
are you?
Look at
Happy
this.
to have Jason and Phil as well. So we're now at 8. Thank you very much.
I was just talking about you, Jason.
Yeah, since we were just talking about Jason.
My bad, man. What's up?
No, Jay, I'm glad you. I saw you on the bottom. I'm like, let's get him into the conversation. Absolutely. Thanks for chiming in, Phil. I'll get to you in a second. Jay, in a weird way, prototypically from the show, I'm looking at it and going, okay, you were the perfect match for Ashley. Sorry, guys, just because of location and age and everything, you would have thought this is the home run, and you barely got a chance to get at the plate. I mean, when you look back on that, you sit there and go, was I even here? What's your take?
That's what I said. I was like, damn, I was there for a while. Was I there? Nah, man. I mean, at this point, I kind of looked at like, it is what it is. It's going to get, it's going to, they do what they do. You know what I'm saying? I had to let them do that. But as far as like, Ashley, I don't know, man. I didn't know, like Earl says, I didn't know it was a landmine out there. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I didn't know, threesomes were frowned upon. So,
sort of like, wait a minute, I didn't see that in the legal thing I signed. Wait a minute.
All the guys on the show know I landed on a grenade because they're all like, they were all like, yeah, don't because I know I'm not the only one that was out there in life having a time. But it was. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, everybody has a choice, and could I don't know, man. I think for me, it was one of those things where it's like, females get to say what they do and don't want to do. And then as a guy, you said, it's like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Only we can do that. And I was kind of like, all right, well, but I mean, like everybody said so far, man, bonding with these guys has like been amazing. Being the baby of the group, saying that I'm 38 and I was a baby.
You got a variety of 40, 50, and 60 somethings here, and I fit somewhere on
the range was crazy. Obviously, the ladies had plenty to choose from. Not so much on my end, but but I appreciate all the guys, man. I've learned so much from all of these guys, man. They've taken care of me in a lot of different ways and just growth in life, man. Opened up doors and opportunities for me that I'm stepping into now. So I'm appreciative for, what it was. At the end of the day, didn't find love and all of that. But I definitely made some great connections that I'll be able to, have for a lifetime.
That's cool.
If I may say, Rob, I met Jason at the premiere. We didn't spend any time on the scene on the.
No, you were off the show, and then he came.
I was off the show. He
Right.
came on, and I met him at the premiere. What a A1 person. You know what I mean? What a good guy, great personality. And as far as Phil, I mean, just great the whole time on the show. He did the premiere for us at his house.
Shout out
And
to
he
Phil.
said he did a wonderful job. I just got to thank Phil for that because it was awesome. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it. And what another A1 person. You know what I mean? They picked the cream of the crop for this show. That's for sure.
No doubt. And I mean, Phil, Mr. Smooth, without a doubt, as I'm watching you here, it's interesting to watch your journey in this whole thing because it's obvious that it's like, okay, Giselle is coming across like, I can sniff the money. And I'm like, really? There's a part of me, I'm sitting there going, I don't know if I would have handled it, because I'm sure you saw that on the show and you probably were like, say what?
Which part where you kind of went
there
out
was
a little bit.
Okay, no problem. Okay, there's a part where Giselle is talking about you and basically I can sniff out his money.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
I guess your question is how to be portrayed or
well, more along the lines of, I don't know if I would have handled that comment with any dignity. I'm just saying, because you come across as such a gentleman that it's like going, it's not going to phase you. You understand that. I don't know if I would have had the same class. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But for me, it was more of, hey, that's her perspective and that's her, comment. So anyone can say whatever they want. And I just took it that way. Obviously, I feel I'm more than, money. And hopefully that they were looking for more than money from someone. That's
very good point.
The thing is, like, I think all the guys came in genuinely looking for love and a relationship and finding someone special. And, if that was their or her intention, I should say, then that's on her.
I'll defend you on what you were saying about the money factor, because it's one of those, it got mentioned, but it's not like something you were just putting out there. It comes up in conversation, and the way they, came across on the show, it came across that way. So it's not like you're sitting there kind of being braggadocious about what you have. It's just more like, all right, you ask a question, I'm going to answer it. Here's how it is. But you're also wanting to get your personality out there, just being very genuine in who you are.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. It was really those responses, and the editing was based off of questions. I'm not going to talk about what kind of car I drive.
Not anything to talk about. I understand.
Yeah. So it's like someone asked me, oh, where do you live? Okay, I live here. And first I always say just Los Angeles. And then they say, well, where? And I said, well, okay, I live in Bel Air. Oh, Bel Air. Okay. Yeah. But just answered the question as it came genuinely, and I had a great time. I have no regrets. So we have one more episode.
That's what I was about to say. We're coming up to the end on Sunday night on Bravo. So I mean, it's like we've got some
regrets after that.
Yeah, you can't say anything. Ralph can't say anything. James can't say anything. But I will pose this to the other four as you're getting ready to watch these three and what is about to happen. There's a part of me that goes, where's DraftKings? I want to place bets on this. I want to see, and the reason I bring this part up is this. It came out in People Magazine 3 days ago that apparently one of the ladies, I think it was Shannon who mentioned this, that one of the couples left the island are still together. None of my business until after the show is aired. I'm sure there'll be a reunion show. But as you're watching it, Jay, Nick, Jason, Gerry, looking at it from your perspective now as you're watching it, do you have any if you had to predict, because maybe you know, maybe you don't, I doubt you would know, because I mean, you're far removed from this. You're watching it along like me. I mean, I got my predictions in my head. I mean, I'll start with you, Nick. Jay, I'll start with you. You're about to jump in. Go ahead.
Rob, did you not hear this whole conversation? We're all bros here. You don't think
That's right. That's right.
I tried. I know you're
We all know what happened. You're not getting it out of us. Just stay tuned. It's gonna be a great episode. We'll leave it at that.
I'm looking forward to it. As somebody who's become a fan and watching this whole thing. So I mean, but I want to bring one up. Have they approached you about after the final episode? Will there be a reunion show where it's like you get to talk about more things, or has that not been broached?
Not for me.
That would be nice. That would be nice if they had it, but
I'm just basing it on the experiences of other shows. I would have thought that would make sense. So in a sense, my podcast, the only reunion show. Seriously, what?
Unless our baller buddy down there has it, we might not have it. You know.
Yeah. So I suggest everybody watching this show send a message out to NBC, Peacock, Bravo. Let's do a reunion show.
Yeah. I would like that on a lot of levels, because I think just the conversation we've been having here, like I said, there's been some facts that I didn't get on the show. I'm not getting on the website. And I think that's really cool that you guys have been very open to talk about what we've been talking about. And I hope I've enlightened some people to more of your personalities, which I think is, as you're going forward, obviously you'll remember this experience, but I also feel like you want to be, from here on out, looked at as like, okay, yeah, I did a reality show, but looked at in the best light possible, if that makes sense to everybody.
Right.
And the reality is there are so many juicy tidbits and things that happened on that show that we cannot talk about until the show's done. So a reunion show would be amazing, because a lot of the questions that the people viewing the show might have are going to be answered.
Right.
There you go. Unfortunately, I can't pay you to do the reunion show. I don't have the money.
I would also say, I think what happens post filming might even be more entertaining.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, we've all gotten really tight, the guys, the ladies, but I don't rain on a parade here, but the show's about the ladies. We're kind of just the set pieces. However, these chess pieces here have all come to life, and we've gotten this great groove on, and if that's all I get out of it in life, good enough for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at it from the chessboard. I'm going, okay, some people were pawns, some people were rooks and bishops, and some people were kings and queens. But we're not going to find out anything until Sunday night when you watch on Bravo who got who and what has. Well, we won't know what has happened since, unless you all decide to come back in a couple of months. If they don't do the reunion show, I'll do it. I mean, I can't pay you, but I mean, we'll get together and be like
reunion podcast,
and then maybe we can reveal more of the secrets. But I'm glad we got to release personalities. I think that's an important thing, and everybody seems very happy, and I appreciate everybody coming in. But before I wrap up, I knew we were supposed to have Earl Pearl. He did not make it in time, but I'm going to leave with 3 photos. I think there are certain photos that kind of really tip I'll say it this way, the fun moments of the show. One of them, give me the shoe, will you? Give me that shoe.
Uh-oh.
Get a shoe from Earl Pearl.
Yeah. Look at them socks.
Yeah. And I get the feeling, just because of the bond between everybody, that Earl is so a lovable guy that you can't hate him, and you almost have to feel like you're kind of pulling for him no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
Earl's a
Earl is a great guy. Yeah. He really is.
Sweetheart, heart of gold.
Yeah,
Pearl.
We all gravitated towards him first.
Yeah, and as a watcher, I think everybody was, male or female, kind of gravitating to his story, and he was very revealing on what he brought out too. Speaking of genuine, and I had to get the shoe out there though. It kind of set the tone for Earl right out of the gate, like on those shoes, man. 2 other photos, even though I want your opinion on this, because I mean, they brought him back. So when they brought Mark back, you're one over, hit it.
Oh my God.
There's Aladdin.
Hey, he forgot his genie
magic carpet.
Man. Yeah, magic carpet. That's
you guys. And when you guys were watching that for the first time, I mean, I'm laughing my ass off at that point. I'm like going, okay, this guy's a character.
Yes, he is.
It's not about love or hate. I'm just saying he's a character. We'll just leave it at that.
I've only seen him since he came back. I only have seen him wearing vests. I don't think he wears anything but a vest.
I guess it's a fashion statement. I personally don't get it. Not
No
that I have
comment.
Look, I'm the first to say it. I don't
let me give Mark some. Mark is doing well in life. He's flipping brownstones in New York. So let's give him his credit where it's due.
Honestly,
he's successful too.
Mark.
He's a good guy.
Mark is legitimately a good guy. He really is. I got to say that. I mean, I got nothing against the guy at all. He's a good guy.
Right.
But Jerry, I got your back, baby.
I guess the only other name I can bring up at this point, and again, Wale, who Jerry, you told me, like I said, I respect that he didn't want to come on. I understand that completely. Nope, bygones on that. But he's also kind of become a central figure as we're coming into the finale. So go ahead, Ralph, please.
I'd like to say before when you asked if there was anything else. So Wale and I got really tight, and honestly, we are so alike. If you put both of us next to each other, go, what do two guys have in common? Most people would be like, I get nothing. We approached everything the same way, right? And we got on great. And I know that they need to create some sort of friction, tension, drama, whatever.
Right.
But, and it probably isn't appropriate, wouldn't make great television, but we spent a lot of time together just talking and talking about the situation and all. And I hold that man in such high regard on so many levels, right? He's a great looking guy. He's talented. He can sing. He can dance. He's articulate. He's smart. He's a businessman. Like, the dude is all the way up here for me, and that comment he made on last night's episode about, she picked two gentlemen, that really kind of touched me. And I just can't say enough good stuff about the guy.
And I think that quells a lot of things, because the way it gets set up on TV, Ralph, is that it almost feels like you two are kind of battling each other. And it isn't. I mean, we've kind of made that clear just by the conversation that we've been having for nearly the last hour, that there's been none of this. It's just been like, we've all been thrown together into a situation. We've actually bonded, which is a great bonus of the whole thing, but none of this, none of that.
There was zero of that. They had and they did a really good job of, a modicum of that kind of drama stuff, but guys, chime in. But I think it was nothing but love, right? And everybody got on different levels.
James almost got beat up last episode, man. What do you mean?
A little uppity.
Yeah, Mitch was not very happy with me. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, well, look, Mitch had to accept the fact it's like the raving chemistry that you were having. Accept what it is. This is what it is.
I actually thought there would. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead, please.
I actually thought there would be more shit talking in the confessionals, because that's what we were all,
Yeah,
there was. They didn't show it, man. That was the issue. What a lot of people don't know is you're in those confessionals for some hours to maybe get.
I didn't know that. I would have thought
it get 20 seconds. No, you're in there for a minute, like
every morning, every night,
because. Of course they want to get something out of you that
soundbite, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. For the show.
Yeah. No, I didn't realize that.
I'm going to say this real quick before, if we cut off or whatever, we got to give Shed, who produced this show with Bravo and NBC, did a phenomenal job though.
Absolutely.
Very high class.
Yeah.
They rented out 3 hotels. They gave us anything we wanted. They made us comfortable. Like in an uncomfortable scenario for us. So whoever's listening and whoever does a reality show, if Shed is behind it, jump on mother effing board with them, man. Because they are bomb.
Beautifully. It was run so well. It was a very, very class. And again, I come from that world. So watching, it was an enormous crew. And, they had to deal with a hurricane. They had the main room we filmed in got completely blasted, right? They had to rebuild that in, a day and a half. Kudos. You're right, Nick.
For real, man. Like that was.
They were worried about our minds. They were worried about our well-being, everything.
Shout out to being well taken care of. Like I said, TV time might have been short, but I know I left out of there with one hell of a room service tab. I'm leaving here with something.
You got to think too. This is a lot of people know this. The hotel, the rooms we were staying in. You could look up the Grand Velas, and they're $1,500 a night for. So this is
shrimp every night.
It was 5-star service.
Let me get Nick, since you brought it up, let me get one photo of the hotel up so people can get an idea. I mean, this is just a gorgeous setup.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, that doesn't do it justice right there.
Yeah,
that's really. That's a gorgeous photo too.
Yeah.
I leave with one last question then, and because you mentioned the people who really made this. If it were the same people involved, and they wanted to approach you about another reality show, I'll go around to everybody. Nick, would you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm looking for my soulmate. I really am. I would love to have a kid. I would love to have a little me. So
Amen.
if there's an opportunity that the females are more of my in my realm, I'm 100% on board for it because it does work. If you look at past shows, and it's another thing to say, I think we started the age gap romance television show because those are happening now, so this could be a first for many things to come for other people.
Jay.
Yeah, I would do it because, again, at the end of the day, this was a great overall experience. I think going into it, though, I would want to know more about, like, the show, like who's in it, what's it about, what are the, So I think, but yes, to answer your question, yes, I do it again.
Ralph, I'm going to guess no, only because you're more of a behind-the-scenes guy. So,
I think I would entertain something, and I say that not in an egotistical, I think I'm, ready for prime time kind of stuff.
Right.
It's just that, again, I was so frightened and did not know what was happening. But after doing it, the experience was so positive on so many levels that I would consider doing something just because look at this,
It says a lot.
So, yeah.
Phil, I come to you. If it was the same production crew and everything, would you do another one?
Yes. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a great experience. And as the guy said, we're open and looking for love. And so if that opportunity presents itself, then why not?
Amen. Jason, what do you think?
As long as there's an age cap. Because, I mean, listen, I need, we need a little more options. But other than that, as far as the production, everything, yes. 45 and younger, I'm down. Let's get
All right, that's fair. James, how do you feel?
Well, I'm always trying to share the message of loving life and creating abundance. I just wrote a book called The Perceptual Shift. And if I have an opportunity to share that message and help other people love life and create abundance over a reality show or whatever, I'm down.
And since you mentioned the book, James, if they want to get it, where can they get it?
Amazon.com.
There we go. The Perceptual Shift. That is out there. And Gerry, you wrap it all up.
So I found love a few months after. I don't think I'd be allowed on another reality TV show, but I would gladly come on and play guitar with James. I would give surfing lessons. I would help. Yeah, I would, because it was such a good time. It really
let me make your ring, Gerry.
He's going to make my ring and reach out to Nick there because he makes some beautiful jewelry.
Monofor.com, baby. Come on, I'll make it.
Give a plug to monofor.com for all your jewelry needs. There you go. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. We could have had more time, but I am pretty much out of time. But I thank you for your honesty, and I thank you for all your personalities, and I hope I juggled them well enough. And Phil and Jason, thank you for coming in late and at least being a part of this. I really appreciate it. Again, Love Hotel, Bravo's Love Hotel. Finale Sunday night. Check it out. You need to get caught up on episodes. Go binge on video on demand. You will not be disappointed. Gentlemen, again, thank you so much for giving me of your time.
Thank you, Rob.
Hey, good to see everybody. Love you guys.
Good to see everybody too, guys. Solid dudes. Bye.
Thank you.
For Nick, Jay, Ralph, Phil, Jason, James, and Gerry, I'm Rob Acampora. We'll do this whole thing again next week on the A Game. You take